You spent $80,000 on a campervan. The dealer shook your hand. You drove away feeling like you'd made the smartest decision of your life. And then, a campground host turned you away at the gate because of something sitting inside that brand new van. Ignore everything I'm about to say if you're happy finding out these rules after spending $80,000. But if you want to know what campgrounds across America are increasingly restricting, items dealers encouraged you to buy, setups van builders call essential, modifications that look completely harmless, stay with me, because the most expensive campervan accessory in 2026 isn't solar panels. It's buying a van that campgrounds no longer want. How this happens. Here's how this plays out, and it plays out more than anyone in the van life space admits. A couple spent months converting a used Sprinter. Beautiful build, professional finish. They booked a premium RV resort in Florida for their first winter, paid in advance, confirmed their spot, drove down from Ohio. They found out about the RVIA certification requirements when they pulled up to the gate. The resort turned them away. It was peak season. Every nearby campground was full. They spent their first night of retirement in a Walmart parking lot. That story is not unique. It's becoming a pattern. And the reason almost always traces back to the same root mistake. Almost everyone buying a campervan in 2026 researches the van. Ford Transit versus Mercedes Sprinter versus Ram ProMaster, specs, layouts, payload ratings. That research matters. But almost nobody researches where they can actually use the van once they own it. The dealer gets paid when you buy the van. The campground host gets paid to enforce the rules. Guess whose opinion actually matters after you've signed the paperwork? Campgrounds across the U.S. have been quietly expanding their restricted items lists every year since 2022. Some driven by fire safety, some by noise complaints, some by insurance liability, some by a surge of van lifers who pushed boundaries the system was never designed for. The result is a growing list of items, things you were sold, things you built in, things you rely on daily that are getting people turned away, fined, or removed mid-stay at an increasing number of campgrounds. Let's start with the one that catches the most people completely off guard. Generator. If you built your van life setup around generator power, this is where things get expensive. More campgrounds are moving toward generator-free or heavily restricted generator policies every season. Most parks that still allow them enforce quiet hours, typically 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., where no generator use is permitted at all. That sounds reasonable until you realize that in July in Arizona or Nevada, 8 p.m. is still 100 degrees inside your van. Your generator at that point isn't optional, it's how you survive the night. But beyond quiet hours, a growing number of premium RV resorts and eco-focused state parks are banning generators entirely, not during certain hours, all day, all night, no exceptions. And here's the painful irony. These tend to be the best campgrounds, the ones with the cleanest facilities, the best security, the most amenities, the spots retirees specifically seek out for longer stays. Picture this. You've driven 6 hours. You pull in as the sun sets. The host walks over, looks at your setup, and says, "Generator-free property, it's in the terms you agreed to at booking." And now you have a decision to make in the dark with nowhere obvious to go. At campgrounds where this rule applies, a solar-equipped van avoids restrictions that generator-dependent vans face entirely. That is a real practical difference in where you can sleep, and it is a difference that is growing, not shrinking. A van built around a generator and a van built around lithium solar storage are not the same van. You cannot easily retrofit one into the other mid-trip. This is a decision that needs to happen before you buy, not after your third campground in a row points to the same sign. Now, generators are frustrating, but the next one surprises almost everyone. Drones. Drones are banned in every U.S. national park. Not restricted, not limited to designated zones, banned entirely. Since 2014, fines can run into the hundreds of dollars. Yellowstone rangers have been actively enforcing this after footage surfaced of a drone being flown near a grizzly bear and her cubs.
Flying a drone near wildlife isn't just a fine, it can cross into criminal territory. State parks vary, but the direction is the same. More bans, tighter enforcement, less tolerance each season. Florida state parks prohibit drone takeoff and landing entirely. Western state parks restrict them through most of fire season, which in California, Oregon, and Colorado now covers the better part of the year. If van life content was part of your retirement plan and a drone was on your gear list, it can only fly legally on private land or specific BLM land where it's explicitly permitted. Assuming it's fine is the assumption that gets people in real trouble. But drones are something people at least know are controversial. What I'm about to tell you about custom builds, most buyers have never even heard of this rule. RVIA/custom build. Some campgrounds, particularly higher-end RV resorts in Florida, the Southeast, and parts of the Southwest, require all RVs to carry RVIA certification. That's the RV Industry Association's seal. It means your vehicle was manufactured and certified as an RV straight from the factory. Your custom Sprinter conversion does not have this. Your professional van build, unless the conversion shop specifically pursued RVIA certification, which the vast majority don't, does not have this. School bus conversions are explicitly banned at several major campgrounds across Florida in the South, regardless of how good the build is. That $90,000 custom conversion your favorite van build channel spent 3 episodes on, rejected at the gate of an RVIA-only resort before it ever gets to enjoy the facilities. This isn't a fringe rule buried on one obscure campground's website. Emerald Beach RV Park in Florida states it outright. All RVs must be RVIA certified. No conversions, no homemade builds. Clear Creek RV Park in Golden, Colorado says the same thing. And these are not isolated cases. They represent a broader trend among premium private parks that want predictable, insurable, standardized vehicles on their properties. If you were planning a custom build or buying a professionally converted van for long-term travel, RVIA certification status needs to be part of your conversation before you spend $1. Ask the builder directly, get it in writing, because finding out a check-in is not a conversation you want to have. Now, this next rule is the one that financially blindsides buyers more than anything else on this list: the 10-year rule. A significant and growing number of private campgrounds and RV resorts have a policy that excludes any vehicle older than 10 years from staying on their property, not certain site types, the entire campground. Think about what that means in 2026. The affordable used van market, the Sprinters, Transits, and ProMasters that make this lifestyle financially accessible for most buyers, sits primarily in the 2013 to 2017 range. That is where manageable prices live. That is where dealer inventory concentrates when you tell them your budget is $40,000 to $55,000. A 2015 Sprinter is now 11 years old. At an RV park enforcing this rule, it could already be rejected, regardless of condition, regardless of the quality of the conversion, regardless of how many miles it has or how well it's been maintained. A beautifully kept 2016 ProMaster in showroom condition faces the same potential rejection as a neglected one. And used van prices are softening in 2026 as the market cools. You will see attractive deals on exactly these years. The pricing will look smart. The build might be genuinely excellent. The campground host's answer will not change. Dealers are not warning you about this. YouTube channels doing walkthroughs of gorgeous older builds are not warning you. And by the time you find out, parked outside a full campground at 9 p.m. with nowhere to go, it is too late to make a different decision. A stronger and more defensible way to think about it: a 2015 Sprinter could already be rejected by any RV park enforcing this rule. How many RV parks on your planned route enforce it? That is research you need to do before you buy, not after you buy it. Stay with me, because what's next is something most van life channels actively avoid bringing up.
Fire and propane rules. Fire rules at U.S. campgrounds are tightening every year, and the specifics matter more than most buyers realize. Bringing firewood from home is now restricted or banned at many state and national park campgrounds, not because they don't want you to have a fire, but because invasive insects and tree diseases move on firewood. Michigan state parks are explicit about it. Millions of trees destroyed, largely from firewood transport. You buy firewood locally at the park or from certified vendors. That is the rule, and it is enforced. Beyond firewood, freestanding fire pits, the kind many van lifers set up outside their van door, are restricted at numerous campgrounds unless placed on a concrete or gravel pad. Burn bans during dry season can eliminate campfires entirely across western states for weeks at a time. And here's the one most people miss: propane fire pits, which many van lifers switch to specifically to avoid wood fire restrictions, are also banned in certain areas and during certain seasons. Propane is not automatically permitted just because it isn't wood. The rules vary by park, by season, and sometimes by individual campground policy. Large fixed propane tanks and certain fuel storage containers also face placement and volume restrictions that differ across facilities. If your van runs on a large propane system, verify the specific rules before you book. This is a detail that sounds minor until you're the person sitting in the dark with a setup the campground won't allow you to use. Clotheslines and external drying setups. This one sounds minor. It is not if you're living in your van full-time. Multiple campgrounds across the South and Midwest have explicit bans on clotheslines, tarps, and any items hung or draped outside your van. The reason is aesthetic, campground owners protecting the look of their resort. But for a full-time van lifer doing laundry on the road, this is a real daily inconvenience that adds up fast. More importantly, it signals something bigger. Premium campgrounds are increasingly treating vans and camper conversions differently from factory-built RVs. The rules were written with traditional RVs in mind: pull in, set up, stay tidy, leave Sunday. Vans, especially lived-in vans, are an awkward fit for that model, and the campgrounds know it. The clothesline ban isn't really about clotheslines, it's about the fact that full-time van living looks different from weekend RVing, and more campgrounds are writing rules that make that difference a problem. Who this affects? Let's be direct about who needs to act on this and who can breathe. If you're a weekend van lifer using BLM land in state forest dispersed camping, not relying on a generator and flexible about where you stay, most of this is manageable. Check rules before you go, buy firewood at the park, leave the drone secured. The lifestyle still works. If you are a retiree on a fixed income, planning long-term travel, and you want the security of premium campgrounds and RV resorts, this is specifically for you. Buy newer than 2016, prioritize solar over generator, verify RVIA certification status on any conversion van you're considering. Call every campground about breed restrictions if you're traveling with a dog. These are not optional checks. They are the difference between a retirement that delivers on its promise and one that unravels at a gate. If you're planning full-time van life and campgrounds are your primary accommodation, the honest answer is that the system is tightening. BLM boondocking rules are being enforced more strictly. Premium campgrounds are raising the bar on what setups they accept. The research required before committing to this lifestyle is significantly heavier than the content you've been watching would suggest. That doesn't mean it's impossible. It means going in informed is not optional. Here is where I take a clear side. The van life industry, dealers, builders, gear brands, content creators, makes money at the point of sale. They are not in the van with you when the campground turns you away. Their financial interest ends when yours begins. The biggest campervan mistake isn't buying the wrong van, it's buying a van for places that no longer want it. The right van for 2026 is solar-equipped, newer than 2016, certified or from a builder who pursued certification and bought by someone who researched campground policies before they ever looked at a spec sheet.
Every item on that list is a decision made before purchase, not a problem to solve after. Your dealer will not have this conversation with you. This channel will. One question. Have you ever been turned away from a campground or hit a rule you had absolutely no idea existed? Drop it below, because I think this happens constantly and people are embarrassed to talk about it publicly. Let's change that.